Hey everyone out there, thank you so much for checking out my Week 9 review of Bravo's Real Housewives of Atlanta Season 4. I am your host, Timothy Boston, whom also brings you a weekly broadcast of Talks with Tim right here on the very same YouTube channel. If you are like myself, we have been anticipating tonight's episode as our favorite Atlantans, our favorite Real Housewives have been on vacation for the past 2 weeks, and tonight, let me tell you, all that anticipation was greatly, it was all worth it. As tonight's episode was very, very interesting, as mostly all of them are. It started out with Phaedra and her mother discussing the prospects of Phaedra and Apollo talking or opening up a family funeral home. If you've been watching this season for the past 9 weeks or 9 episodes, however you decide to label it, and towards the end of the last season, you would know that Phaedra is definitely very, very interested in venturing out into a business with her husband Apollo in the funeral home business. She wants to open up her own funeral home. I know earlier this season she was really involved in the planning process of the funeral services for her aunt that had passed away, and she had been taking some really good advice from a really really popular funeral home director there in Atlanta. And again, her she's really broadening her thoughts about opening up her own funeral home. However, I think what has really placed a little bit of a delay in her plans is the fact that her husband Apollo is not too open to the idea. So she's been presenting the ideas to him, but he gets kind of gritty when you begin talking about the whole idea of handling human remains and doing the funerals and etc. So again, the show opens up with Phaedra discussing with her mom about the prospects of opening up the funeral home business, and her mom really gives her some really really good advice of what she could do to have Paulo become a little bit more comfortable with the idea. And then we get to see Cynthia and her husband Peter are heading to a venue or dance studio, and they're both going to be taking some salsa lessons. That's something personally what I would always love to do. But they're going to be taking some salsa lessons, and while they're awaiting her lessons, she at this point, Cynthia is really still affected by Peter's actions when he decided to leave out of the Bailey agency opening. What we saw maybe a couple of episodes ago, if not the last episode. And she's explaining to him the fact that I don't appreciate how you just left me hanging. You didn't say anything. She says that she really does not like the way that they communicate with each other, or a lack thereof. And he's basically saying, hey, you know what, this is just me. You knew before we got married that this is how I communicate, this is how I operate. But I saw a little bit different side of Cynthia this week, because she became really aggressive, very assertive and firm with Peter about her discontent about his actions at the Bailey agency opening. So they had a really, really, really big conversation about that. And then we got to see Kim, who, as we all know, Kim just moved into this really beautiful home. She just had a baby, so now she's at the point where she's trying to get all settled in. She's still trying to unpack. Apparently, Kim had a lot of stuff. So she's unpacking this china, but outside of trying to handle the baby and unpacking the china, she's still a mother. She was already a mother, so she's trying to manage all of these things at one time. And apparently, her oldest child, Brielle, who I believe is 14 or 15 at this time, she's having some growing pains. Brielle is showing her mother some attitude, and Kim is not appreciating that so much. So she's having this talk with Brielle about, number one, she's going to have to get a job, she's going to have to learn a little bit more responsibility, and she's going to have to help out around the house. I don't think Brielle was really open to that. She's saying, you know what, whatever. I have you guys. I don't need to work. I don't necessarily need to do anything, because you all would do everything for me. So I'll be quite intrigued to see the over the next couple of weeks about how Brielle really takes to Kim and Croy's chastising and correction of her behavior since the baby has been born. And then we see Candy, who uh, has finally decided to visit Jody Messina, the country music star, at her home in Nashville. And when she arrives there with her business partner, I think his name is Little something. I can't remember his name right now. But she arrives there with her business partner, and they are pitching ideas to him, to her, to Jody, of this new music. And I can tell you that I was absolutely floored. I'm very eclectic and versatile and multifaceted as it relates to music. And so I like all types of music. But this song that Candy pitched to Jody was absolutely fabulous. It was titled "Won't Give Up." You heard Candy sing a little bit of it, and then you heard Jody try to, try to actually sing it the way Candy was pitching to her, and it was absolutely wonderful. I love the song, and I'm not sure if it's out now or if it'll be out in a little while in the future. But I would buy the single because it was it was a really nice song. But we all know that Candy is quite good at what she does. I mean, she made "Tardy for the Party" a hit almost instantly, and she played a very vital part in Lawrence's single being so huge. So we all know that she definitely knows what she's doing. So I'll be quite again. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but another thing that I'm looking forward to seeing is how this wraps up with Jody and having Candy putting her magic to work and making this big country music hit like she plans on making. Then our girl Nene, she finally sits down with Marlo. Now, when I saw the previews, I could not wait to witness and see what actually was going to happen during the course of the meeting with Marlo. And from the previews, it didn't appear to me originally that it was going to go off too well, especially knowing what happened in the very beginning of the season between Nene and Sheree, and how they even sat down and tried to have dinner or talk over dinner. And that did not blow over very well at all. But to my surprise, it really, really went well. Marlo just basically said, I know it's all over the internet, but because Marlo's husband is Charles Grant, who was accused of in the blogosphere and on the internet of being in an intimate relationship with Nene. But Marlo is saying, you know what? I know it's on the internet, but Charles is saying it's not true. You are saying it's not true. Let's just bury the hatchet. And that's basically what they did. Nene basically said, we never had any problems with each other, and I don't necessarily think that we need to concoct a problem with each other just because of what somebody decides to put out on their website or on the internet. Which again, like I say to all of you, and I even say to my friends and my business partners as a professional publicist, do not believe what you see on the internet. I tell people all the time, these websites get paid, or the owners of the websites get paid for traffic that comes through and read these stories that they personally know is not necessarily 100% true. But again, I believe that this is at the point where Marlo and Nene became very cordial, and I actually was very pleased about the way that the the meeting between the two sat down. I think they even went shopping with each other. Then we see Sheree. We all know that Sheree is definitely the queen of all trades, but one thing in particular is the fact that Sheree definitely has a passion for exercising. Now, for a person like myself, who since February I've lost about 81 pounds, and so I'm always open to learning more things. Well, it doesn't appear learning more things relating to exercising and health and fitness, but it doesn't appear that Kim was that open, because when Sheree brought the exercise equipment, or the exercise regimens over to Kim's house, Sheree was looking at her like, okay, I just had a baby a few months ago, a few weeks ago. I'm not really into making all these changes this quickly. But you know, they actually did it. They did some. They did some. They did some exercising. They did some juicing. What I have not tried yet. But I just may, after looking at how easy it was, I just might go out and buy a juicer. So, you know, Sheree, you definitely helped me out tonight. You don't even know it. But yes, so they did some exercising. Kim was, slowly but surely, Kim's going to get into the habit of it. And then we see Phaedra, who, back with, you know, again, back at Phaedra, her and Apollo decided to take a trip to see Mr. Willie, the funeral director there in Atlanta, and they decided to tour the funeral home with hopes that Apollo will be a little bit more comfortable and open of the idea of owning a family funeral home business. And that's really what all that part of this episode was. They toured the entire funeral home. I had never even seen some of the parts of the funeral home. I've never even toured the funeral home before. But at this point, I'm still not sure yet that Apollo is comfortable with this idea. So we get back to Nene, and just like I said before, her and Nene and Marlo decided to, you know, bury the hatchet, so to speak, and not feed into the whole rumor mill on the internet. And they attended a fundraiser for Going Green together. I actually love them two together. You know, it appears that they could potentially grow into a really, really nice friendship. So they went into a Going Green fundraiser for this environmental campaign, I believe, and then they're selling jewelry, etc., etc., etc. And you know, they really had a good time together. So back with Phaedra again, Apollo decides to pay his wife a visit. At the office, he brought her some flowers. He walked in and gave her a really nice kiss and really embraced her. And he's saying, you know what, I understand that you're trying to present this idea to me. You know, we want a legacy that we can pass off to our son Aiden. And at the end of the day, he says, yes, I will do it. And I think Phaedra is very happy. I think she will now move on with her plans, because she had said in tonight's episode that she would not have been able to move on with her plans of the funeral home business had Apollo not agreed to take on the task of venturing in this business with her in a partnership. And then right before the episode closed, Cynthia and her husband Peter went to see the pastor that actually officiated the ceremony when they got married for some marriage counseling, because they're at this point now. I do follow all of the housewives on Twitter. Feel free to follow me on Twitter as well. You can find all my contact information in the show more field of this video. I'm always on Twitter, on Facebook. My email address is there, or you can leave me messages or comments here. What was I going to say was that I follow all the housewives on Twitter. I follow Peter as well. So I personally know that they are still together. Okay, but at this point in the season, they were having some issues. So they went to their pastor for some counsel, and you know, he's going to be helping them with seeking resolution to whatever the underlying issue is between the two, whether it's communication, whether it's trust. But I'm very optimistic that over the season we will see the two grow closer and closer, as I do believe that Peter loves Cynthia, and I think that Cynthia is equally in love with Peter. So again, I'm optimistic that over the season, over the course of the next few episodes, and through the close of the season, we will see the two grow closer and closer. So that was pretty much the gist of the episode tonight. Again, I was so glad to be back in the company of all of my favorite Real Housewives. As again, we did not have them for the past couple of weeks. So thank you again for checking out my weekly review. Please, please, please leave me comments and suggestions and all things of that sort below the video. You can also find my contact information in the show more field. All you have to do is click it, and there you can find me. Again, find me on Twitter, Facebook. There's my email address. You can also be looking forward to me continuing to broadcast my weekly talk show, Talks with Tim, every week right here on YouTube. You can look forward to the video every Wednesday at 6:30 right here on YouTube. I may have some prizes, some surprises coming up. Definitely continuing to bring you entertainment news different than what you may see others doing. So again, thank you so much for checking me out. And until next time, take care.